All right, everyone. So welcome to Chakra Balancing Techniques as a little bit of um, a mini session. It might be more of a refresher for some of you or a small intro for others. And as I mentioned, it's a part of our 20th anniversary celebration event that we unfortunately didn't get time to do on the Saturday, which was jam-packed. So on that note, I do want to mention before we get started that Reiki Australia does acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and we live. We recognize their continuing connection to land, water, and community, and we pay respects to elders. We pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. If you would like to share the land that you are on, feel free to write that in the chat. I'm in New South Wales on Cammergal land. So I'm just going to share my screen. Excuse me. Here we are. Can you all see that? Perfect. All right, so first off, what I'd like to know is, have you worked with the chakras before? And if so, has it been in a professional or more of a personal capacity?
Personal.
Yeah.
Professional and personal.
Perfect. So it sounds like for a lot of us, this is going to be a bit of a refresher. I did a session on Saturday morning, and it was really great just to see the conversation. And what had happened was, we got some insight into some techniques that others use that maybe we either weren't aware of or had started and then, kind of leaned away from. So it was a good reminder to kind of introduce this back into our personal lives, because that tends to be the first step, doesn't it? The professional capacity is you're doing it for yourself and you really see the benefits for yourself and your family, and then you can't help but want to share that in a professional setting. Okay, sorry, I'm just moving some of this. The Zoom features tend to get. Again, while it might be that we're all used to hearing about and working with the chakras, I thought that we'd just go through the basics and kind of reset ourselves. So what are the chakras? Well, the chakras are energy centers, and they regulate the two-way flow of energy between the body and the wider energy system. So they regulate the flow of energy between us and our aura. They receive, translate, and store. They emit the life force energy, and I refer to that as ki, Ki. You may refer to that as something different. So that happens between the body and the energy in the aura, which connects each of the chakras to the 7 auric layers. And that's where the mental, emotional, and spiritual energies are stored. I did want to ask, with the aura, are any of you, or do you know anyone who has the ability to actually see the aura? You've had experience with that? Tess is nodding her head.
Friends.
Yeah. Great. So the chakras, they actually extend a few inches from the body, and they emit these frequencies that come out as colors, right? So that's where each chakra gets its respective color. And a lot of people, when I do speak to them, clients might come in and heard a little bit about the chakras, but aren't necessarily working with them or have done any work on their own, aren't really sure where they are. They're actually just a few inches kind of in front or behind the body in their respective locations, except for the crown and the roots, which are facing upward and downward, respectively. in visualizations, which is something that I like to focus on, it can be, challenging for some individuals at the beginning to visualize their chakras. One way to do that is to keep the color chart next to you, and then imagine the chakras about the size of your hand, just to give yourself a little guide. So the size of your hand, like little discs, of course, or orbs, and then in that color that's attributed to each chakra. Chakra location and properties. So we know that we have the 7 main chakras, of course. There are the higher 3, which are the crown, third eye, and the throat. And then there are the 3 lower, and working from the bottom up, or 1 to 3, are root, sacral, and solar plexus. And the heart is the connector. It's the bridge between the higher and the lower chakras. So the higher chakras are the spiritual aspects of our lives, our mental activities, communication, intuition, cognition, and so on. Lower chakras are more physical. There are survival, sexuality, love, and then we have the heart as the connection. Now, this one is sometimes new. It depends on what you're, really learning about, involved in, and if you follow the feminine versus the masculine energy. So it doesn't mean, women or individuals identifying as female have feminine energy, and then males or individuals identifying as males have masculine energy, but rather we all have both. So our feminine energy is our inner world. It's our connection to others. It's our nurturing. And it's attributed with our even number of chakras. Our masculine energy is more of the external world. It's how we see ourselves and how we are seen in the physical world, right? So it's our careers. It's how we assert ourselves. It's really much the external world. And if I haven't mentioned already, those are the odd numbered chakras. And again, career, finances, success. And then the crown chakra has both. So it holds both the masculine and the feminine energy. And we really want these energies to be balanced. Of course, I know I talk a lot about, we want our chakras to be balanced. And that's not only a balance between all chakras, but it brings us to a balance in our feminine and our masculine energy, which is so important because we can be really far one way and really far the other, and then lacking in particular areas of our lives. I'm just moving the Zoom. I like to have everyone's face on the screen. I like to see if people are, following along, bored, whatnot, what have you, or raising a hand. So I like to keep people's faces up on the screens. And feel free to interject at any point. So along with the masculine and the feminine energies, of course, we know that the chakras actually affect us in some physical ways, and they impact our body systems. And 2 body systems in particular is the endocrine and the nervous systems. So as you can see, I've got this little chart here, and I find this really helpful to use, particularly when you're with clients or individuals who just aren't familiar with the chakra system and how it really works for us and where it's all connected. But you can see here that this is the endocrine system. So we have the pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, thymus, adrenals, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. And you can see how the chakras kind of line up with each of those. You'll notice, and I don't have a photo of this, and there's, from what I can find, not as much kind of investigation into the effects on the nervous system, but if you do look, you'll note that it's going straight up and down where the spinal column would also be. And if you did have a look, and you can do this in your own time, but there are nerve bundles, and they do in fact line up with those nerve bundles. But as I mentioned, I haven't found, and if any of you have any information that that I obviously don't have on the nervous system and the chakras, I'd love to hear it. So the chakras, they do affect our physical, emotional, and mental health through our connection to the endocrine and nervous systems. And the goal is maintaining that constant internal environment. So it's that homeostasis. It's, you want the balanced chakras, but you also want all of your body systems to really be working at their optimal. And when they're working at their optimal, we have homeostasis. So our body detects changes within its internal environment and activates feedback systems to bring the body back into homeostasis. The chakras will do this. So, for example, you have an imbalance in one of your chakras, and another one might actually become a little bit more overactive to make up for the lacking in that other chakra. So it's really important. That's why we say, check in with all your chakras, because just because you might feel like, okay, well, in my life, I'm really lacking in this area, that must be my so-and-so chakra. Well, so how is your chakra system making up for that lacking, right? Or if it's overactive, the other way. I guess here is a good point to ask. How do you check in with your own chakras? How do you navigate it? Do I have a healthy chakra system? Or, do you do that at all, I guess?
Nobody's speaking.
Sorry?
Nobody's speaking.
No?
I actually use a couple of methods. Sometimes I scan the body. Sometimes I look at what's going on in my life, because I know when a chakra's out, it will cause this, and when it's in balance, it will be a different way. So I kind of use a few different methods when I'm looking to see if it's out of balance.
Yeah.
I'm new to this, and I'm just started to doing some exercise of I don't know, I call it spinning my chakras, where I start from the base and I go up through, and then I do meridians and so forth. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. We'll continue. Mapping out the chakras provides a visual, and that's what we mentioned. So it shows the alignment of the chakras with the endocrine glands and the nerve bundles. So again, you can find these images anywhere really on the internet. So, and they are quite useful. I do find showing this visual, even just to family and friends when we're doing it, it makes things clearer for them in their head. Chakra functions. You'll often hear, more often than not, you'll hear open and closed. My chakras this chakra's open, this chakra's closed, it's over or underbalanced. It's really an oversimplification. They can be overactive and they can be underactive, but it's a bit of a spectrum, right? They don't necessarily have to just be, raging overactive or really stagnant. As I mentioned, one chakra could be making up for what the other one is lacking. And so it's just slightly off balance. It still has an effect on, all of the body systems and your emotional and your mental and your physical state. But it's a real, it truly is an oversimplification, and it does make it easier to understand when you're first getting started with it. But I think the more and more that you do work with, your own chakras and others, you kind of start to appreciate this kind of intuitively, that it's not just open, it's not just closed. So I like to check chakra health using a pendulum. And when I use a pendulum, I have a very obvious open, which for me, open is a nice steady circle, or it's more my yes and my no, isn't it really, if you're familiar with pendulum work. My yes is a circle, and then my no is a back and forth on the pendulum. And that varies from person to person. It can be very personal. So when I do check chakras, you know, the open could be this really wide, fast spinning circle, but it could also be like not a close, but like kind of an oval or a slower circle. And it can just be straight up line, you know, I call it a back and forth line, stayed enclosed. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you have some familiarity working with pendulums?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my kind of go-to way to do a quick check-in with the chakras. And it's through that pendulum work that you really can see that, you know, it's really open and really overactive, or it's, you know, kind of teeter-tottering, you know, somewhere here in the middle of not quite knowing what to do. And yeah, it gives you a great visual when you get really familiar with the pendulum work, I find. Overactivity. Does anyone, you know, and feel free if you don't have to speak up, I'd love it if you did. So if you could give an example of what may happen if somebody had an overactive chakra, you know, pick one chakra in particular. What would be an example?
The root chakra.
Pardon?
The root chakra, the base
Right.
chakra, if that's overactive, it's you can have greed and anger, lots of different things. Yeah.
Certainly. And have it underactive.
Underactive, you can be very lethargic. With the root chakra, there's lots of different symptoms there too.
Isn't it? Yeah, there
Yeah.
certainly is. And it's attributed with so many different, you know, the body systems and then the physical, the emotional, and
Yeah.
so there certainly is a lot. Yeah. I like to use the example of the throat chakra. You know, somebody who's really overactive is, and I don't want to use the word outspoken because that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like they don't stop talking or talk. It's not about being opinionated. It's more about, you know, talking over people, feeling uncomfortable in silence, you know, not able to have a comfortable silence. That's an overactive chakra, all constantly interrupting, you know. And then underactive can be, you know, they just don't speak out.
Don't speak up.
Right? They won't voice their opinion. You know. So that, and that's really telling and quite obvious in a lot of, you know, you can really see, I'm thinking of individuals that I know and have grown up with, that you can see those stages, you know, when that happens, when you recognize what the chakras are and what they're attributed to in your daily lives, you can almost look at some people and think, gosh, if I could only just get to that chakra, you know. So there are some very telling signs. So I've mentioned this second last point here, that over and underactive chakras, they do tend to compensate for imbalances in other chakras. And this just highlights the importance of that balanced chakra system, the homeostasis of everything working at its optimal, so that, you know, another part of the system doesn't have to overwork. So chakra balancing techniques, can you name some?
I said spinning.
Yeah, okay. We all know Reiki. What are some other modalities that we could use to balance our chakras?
Breath work, qigong.
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah. And then I have here as well, crystals, aromatherapy, visualizations, color therapy. We have one of our members who posts a lot of this color therapy using foods. So creating foods, you know, making food from scratch with fresh ingredients to the color of the chakra that she's working with that day or that week.
Sound therapy as well.
Yeah, sound therapy is great. So we're not limited, you know, it's a lot out there that we can do. So I'm just reading the messages that come in through the chat as well. All right. I'm just going to take a moment, if that's okay with everyone, and I'd like to reply to the chat. So of those mentions, you know, what have you used? What do you use? What have you tried? What would you like to try? What are you most drawn to? I often wonder if I'm drawn to really colorful clothing, you know, just intuitively to help me with my chakras, you know, why is it I chose that color today? Or I don't know, maybe it's my, you know, intuition telling me that that's where I need to focus today, and maybe it's not. It would be really interesting to actually, and I've thought about it, but I haven't, but to, you know, pick out what I want to wear, have a, you know, recognize the colors I'm wearing, and then check in and see how my chakras are doing, and just to see if there's that correlation. I'd be really interested just on a personal level to see whether or not it's, you know, there's something behind that. How about the rest of you? Have you tried anything other than spinning tests? You said you're new, so maybe not, but is there anything else that appeals to you?
Not so much. I guess I can't pinpoint, but my for years purple has been an attraction, and I don't, whether it's for the reasons I have attracted purple to me, I just, that's kind of the be all and end all, and I think I know why, but is that the real reason? I don't know, but I am.
Yeah, and I imagine you spent some time kind of just sitting with that and actually, you know, reflecting and doing some work into that. You know, maybe there is.
Could think, yeah.
Yeah. If no one else has anything, what I've done is I've got this video here. I thought that we could run through a guided visualization together. It's about 20 minutes, so it will take us just over the 45 minutes. And I'm okay with that, certainly, as long as you all are as well. And if you do have to leave, feel free. This is one of the ways that I like to balance my chakras. I find it really beneficial. I find it, you know, easy. I like the space that I create, I guess is what I mean by easy, because I don't always find it easy in the sense of staying focused and not being distracted, certainly. So what I like to do, I start from the root and I work my way up, and I visualize each chakra as an orb. Now you may like to use the spinning disc. I just like but the orb, I find that sits really well with me. I imagine the orb in this color. It's, emitting a light in the color of the chakra that I'm currently sitting with. And I sit with it. And this video is about 3 minutes, I think, for each chakra. And this is guided visualization in the sense that the video will come up with the color and the symbol of the chakra, and it will guide you to move on to the next, and then show you the color and the symbol, so that if you are struggling with staying with your chakra, that you can come back, because I close my eyes, you can come back and you can look at the video image. I do compare it to meditation. I don't do as much meditation as I would like, but I did, a few years back, I did this 10-day meditation retreat, and this was in Bogota, Colombia, and we, it was really intensive, and we had to sit and meditate and practice meditation, and I found myself always being really distracted. And I find that sometimes in the guided visualizations, I'm the same with the intrusive thoughts sometimes, or the just feeling impatient. And so if when we're running through this guided visualization, you do feel that way, just be really gentle and bring yourself back, whether you need to look at the video or just remind yourself, okay, no, actually I'm doing, my chakra visualizations at the moment. But I guess the point is be gentle. You don't want to be harsh with yourself or try and push those things away. Just acknowledge and then gently set them aside and continue on with the visualizations. So I hope that makes sense. So if you all would like to, I will start the visualization. Do you have any questions before I do so? Was I clear in those instructions? I guess that, they're just kind of a brief overview, I suppose, but perfect.
Yep.
Did you have a question, Tess?
No, just something I heard, I think it was yesterday, about meditation. When thoughts come in, they said to treat them like clouds that come in and float off. Yeah, be gentle. And they're like, just come and let them go straight away.
Yeah, and when I really, if you were really to get into this, I have a sheet actually, but I do this with this sort of thing with clients sometimes. And I have a little sheet, or I tell them to, bring a piece of paper if they don't have this particular PDF. And it's just not to get in, not to sit there and write, but rather to, okay, this is my thought, and just jot it down. Some people have a real hard time moving away.
That's good.
And yeah, if you jot it down, you're also not ignoring something that's come up, and it's during this particular chakra. So if you kind of make a little note, this is what's happened during this particular, the visualization of this particular chakra. What about that do I need to go and focus on or work or reflect on? If anything, sometimes it's just you might be impatient and you're thinking of your to-do list. But that in itself as well, what is it about that or what's going on in your life that you can't take 20 minutes and just focus on the chakra system and health. So yeah, it's certainly don't be harsh with yourself. Don't, throw it away. It's there for a reason, but just gently let it go for now and try and come back to the visualizations.
Love it.
But I do have to stop the share, just so I can start again and share with sound. And if that does happen, if you can't hear it, because there will be some music, and again, you'll hear the voice saying when to move on from the chakra. And it's about 3 minutes you can expect.
Find a comfortable position and prepare to begin your visualizations. Root chakra, red. Sacral chakra, orange. solar plexus, yellow. Heart chakra, green. throat chakra, blue. Third eye, purple. crown chakra, violet. Now we will visualize all 7 chakras spinning in unison. You have now completed your chakra guidance.